everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nay if you're new. In honor of living in Bristol for 8 years, I wanted to share with you 8 honest pros and cons of living here. Before I jump in, if you also live in Bristol, please do comment down below your pros and cons too. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe down below so you never miss another video. Okay, let's go. Let's start with the cons in no particular order. Number 1, the first con of living in Bristol is the crime. Sadly, Bristol is now one of the top 10 most dangerous places to live in England and Wales. Now, of course, as with any city, there's crime, but I've certainly noticed that Bristol has definitely got worse over the last 2 years, especially for knife crime. Number 2 on my list, no decent close beaches. This is a big con for me. So unfortunately, Bristol's not near any decent beaches. If we were going to go to a beach, we would go to the ones in Wales, which is about an hour and a half away. So it's 3 hours of your day. It's a barrier. So basically we just don't bother. Now, this may not be a problem for you if you're not really a beachy person, you're not really into water sports or coastal walks, but these are things that we love doing, and we would definitely do it more often if we were obviously given the opportunity and if we were in closer proximity. So basically all our activities, weekend activities, are spent doing city-based activities, which I have to say after 8 years can sometimes be exhausting. I feel like I've done it all over and over again. Number 3, it is expensive. It is so expensive here. House prices, rent, like everywhere, have gone up. Bristol is now the most expensive place to rent outside of London, average rent prices being 1700 to 1800 a month, and average house prices here are 388,000 compared to the England average of around 300,000. We were very lucky with our house purchase, so we purchased this 2-bedroom mid-terrace Victorian in the summer of 2022. We paid just over 300,000. We also signed a 5-year interest deal at 2.94%, and we also put down around an 8% deposit. And I believe we have just over 2 years left on that interest deal, and I'm not willing to pay the price of 3 to 4 bed houses here. I also would like to pay our mortgage off within 20 years, so I also don't want to keep kicking that can down the road until I'm almost dead. So that's house prices. Now, food and drink prices have also shot up, which again, since COVID, since cost of living. On top of increased food and drink prices here, lots of the restaurants in Bristol now add a 12.5% tip to your bill, like we are living in America. So pre-COVID, Cody and I would go out all the time, at least once a week. It would be an activity, go for a nice lunch, brunch, drinks, markets, street food. Whereas now, not only do you have to factor the increased price of food and drink, you also now have to factor that you're going to get a 12.5% tip on top of your bill, which I don't really like, because firstly, it means that tips are no longer at the discretion of the customer, and secondly, we live in a country where there is minimum wage. So suffice to say, I don't eat out as much anymore because quite honestly, I can't afford it, which is a real shame because the food and drink scene here is incredible. And there's a final expense that I also want to mention, and that is the rip-off parking prices, which I now refuse to pay. If this is Bristol's way to make people drive less, it works, because last September I actually sold our car because I was getting fed up with the cost of running it and the parking prices in Bristol. So if I ever want to go to town to the harbour side, I now have to suffer a 30-minute bike ride. Last but not least, for the cons, number 4 is that it is hard to meet new people here. Now, like anything, this may of course just be my personal experience or perhaps the reality of being an adult, but in the 8 years of living here, I have found it so hard to naturally meet new people and make friends. When I first arrived in Bristol, it was 2016, and I came to do my master's degree at the University of Bristol. Now, while I was a student, I managed to make a grand 2 friends from my course, and I made a 3rd friend from working at the Bristol Students' Union. Now, those 3 people are still, to this day, some of my closest friends, but they all left Bristol after university. So after that year, I was basically back to square one, and since then, I have not made a single Bristol friend. And I've tried some really obvious places like work colleagues, the gym, book clubs, dance clubs. And I feel like if you want to make friends here, you've got to dedicate a month or 2 of your life to search and find people, and then also make the first move, which is actually really daunting and actually a lot of effort, which I think is why I haven't been very successful. So whilst the people of Bristol are super friendly, it's hard to actually find a community and make friends here. I feel like there's such a lack of opportunities for women to play sports in Bristol. So over the years, 8 years, I've tried really hard to join a sports team. I've tried to join netball, basketball, hockey, and probably some other ones that I'm forgetting, and they either don't exist or the teams are the complete opposite end of Bristol, so I can't get there, or they wrote back to tell me that they're full and they're not looking for new members. So that's super hard because that's always been an obvious way to make new friends. Perhaps I'll have to do a separate video about trying to make new friends in Bristol because I would like to have a nice group of friends here. Okay, so that's my 4 cons. Let's now move on to the 4 pros. The first pro of living in Bristol is the location. Compared to many cities in the UK, I think that Bristol has the best location. One of the coolest things about Bristol is the fact that you can cycle to Bath in 13 miles, and if you don't want to cycle back, you can get the bus or the train. And also, if you were to take a 2-hour radius, say driving or the train, in any direction you can be literally anywhere. So if you head west, for example, within 2 hours you could be in the Brecon Beacons in Wales. If you were to head south, you could reach the top of Cornwall in less than 2 hours, while of course passing through all of Somerset and Devon. If you headed east, you could get to London. In fact, you can get to London Paddington from here by train in about an hour and 15 minutes. And then of course, if you headed north, you could get to Staffordshire, Shropshire in about 2 hours, while of course, again, passing the Cotswolds, Gloucester, Cheltenham. So basically what I'm trying to say is that if you lived in Bristol, you are not going to be short of other places to visit in any direction. And I just can't think of another city that has as good a location as Bristol does. Number 2, we need to talk about all the cool events that Bristol has, especially in the summer. And again, compared to neighbouring cities like Exeter, Plymouth, Bath, Cardiff, Gloucester, Bristol has better events than any of them. So for example, one of the most famous festivals here is the Bristol Balloon Festival. So this is a 3-day fiesta where every morning at 6 a.m. and every evening at 6 p.m. there's a mass ascent of hot air balloons that set off from Ashton Court Estate, so the west of Bristol, and they fly all over Bristol, over the harbour, over the town, and they land somewhere in the east. In some cases, we will get up early and head to the Clifton Suspension Bridge and watch the balloons fly from there. It's also very good for music, gigs, and music festivals. So you've got your bigger events like Bristol Sounds, Bristol Harbour Festival. There's also a festival on the Downs that I forgot. You've got Tokyo World, Love Saves the Day, and then you've also got smaller music locations like the O2 Academy, Bristol Beacon. You've also got Ashton Stadium, which holds sort of bigger gigs. And then you've also got even smaller like pubs and local venues that will also host lots of local bands any day of the week. So you get the picture, there's a big music scene here. Number 3 is the insane food and drink scene. Now I know that earlier I complained about the prices of food and drinks now and the tipping, but that aside, Bristol has one of the best food and drink scenes. Way better again than Bath, Gloucester, Plymouth, Exeter, Cardiff. It is packed with hundreds of independent food and drink vendors, family-run businesses, from street food vendors, several Michelin-starred tasting menus, and that combined with the sheer amount of options here is a reason why you should choose Bristol over any other city. And in fact, if I were to ever leave Bristol, I would have to really research the food and drink scene of the next location, because we've been so spoiled here that I just can't imagine living somewhere that's not very good for food and drink. And even after 8 years, there's still hundreds of places I've never tried. There's obviously a number that are opening every week, so the list is endless and you'll basically never make your way around every food and drink venue here. And with that said, going forward, I'm actually going to start doing some more vloggy content of life in Bristol, what it's like to live here, what there is to do. So I'll definitely also include lots of food and drink content for you. And last but not least, number 4, this is going to be hard to describe, but it's all about the vibes. It is very vibrant here. I don't know how else to explain it, but there is a buzz in Bristol. It's not overcrowded and packed like London, but equally it's not anywhere near dead like Exeter or snobby like Bath. And I don't really know what makes the vibes here. It's very arty. So there's a good art scene, there's graffiti, there's also a graffiti street art festival. There's multiple theatres, there's also Europe's or the world's oldest running theatre here. You've got comedy shows. I obviously already mentioned the music scene, but I should probably also mention all the clubs, the bars. There's a big drum and bass scene here too. And another example about the Bristol vibes is that on a warm sunny day, basically anything over 15 degrees, is that everyone goes outside. So all the parks will be busy, the harbour will be busy, people actually get drinks and they'll sit on the wall of the harbour until the sun goes down. And I don't know any other city or town that does that, where people do that. And a special mention on a sunny day also has to go to King Street. And again, I don't know any city or town that has somewhere like King Street. The Bristol vibe is something different, and I just don't know any other city that has the same vibe as Bristol has. If you are from Bristol or you live in Bristol, can you help me down below and try and explain what I mean by the vibes? Because I feel like I've done a really bad job of trying to explain that. Thank you so much if you made it this far. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel and you're not subscribed, please subscribe down below so you never miss another video. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!